Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So, can we start?
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay. So, start with some Mangalacharan verses. Om Jnanatirmirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurau Shri Utpadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamani Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Okay, so we started the 9th chapter yesterday and we finished up to the 12th verse. Does anyone want to recap quickly? What have we discussed in 9th chapter so far?
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. What's your name? I see everybody else's name, but I don't see your name.
Rishabh.
Okay. Hare Krishna, Rishabh Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Please.
The chapter is named as so because it explains the pure devotional service. And the firstly, we discuss three important points that we should not be envious to Krishna. Hearing this is the only process to know Krishna. And if we hear, all our miseries we'll be free from all the miseries. Then we come to the point that devotional service is very easy. Mostly includes Shravanam and Kirtanam. This knowledge is most secret knowledge, king of all the knowledge, Rajvidya. Then we come to the three levels of faith. Faith is most important in Krishna consciousness. We have three levels of Uttama Adhikari, Madhyam Adhikari, and Neophyte Adhikari, first class, second class, and third class.
Neophyte is Kanishta Adhikari. He is known as
Kanishta
Adhikari.
Okay, Mother. Uttama Adhikaris have topmost faith, and Madhyam Adhikaris has somewhat medium faith, and Neophytes have shaky faith. Then we come to the point that Krishna's energy works. He just starts the manifestation points that everything works automatically. All the material, and Krishna sits like on the side as an aloof. He remains aloof.
Thank you. And we are discussing in 11th and 12th, we discussed those people who do not believe in the form of Krishna. And in the 12th last verse that we discussed yesterday, so he said that those who do not believe in my form are so bewildered that in their delusional condition, their hopes for liberation, their fruitive activities, and their culture of knowledge are all baffled. They don't get success in anything. Okay, so let's start with the 13th verse. So somebody can read. Pranam, Hare Krishna. Yeah, please go ahead.
Mahatmanastu mam partha daivim prakritimashritaah bhajantyannanaya manaso gyatva bhutadimavyayam. Translation. O son of Pritha, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible.
Yeah. So in 11th and 12th verse, he talked about those who do not respect his form, who are bewildered by Krishna's form. And in this verse, he's talking about those who believe in him, who have faith in Krishna as he reveals himself. They believe, they are respectful towards Krishna, they accept Krishna when he reveals himself. So he's saying that these people, they are not deluded and are under the protection of my divine nature. Divine nature means his internal potency. They are under the protection of his internal potency. And this internal potency manifests in the life of a devotee in the form of guidance. It's not, we see that Mahamaya, the Maya potency, the illusory potency of the Lord, it's a very controlling and debilitating energy, but the internal potency is an empowering potency. There's a difference in the way these both act. So Prabhupada says in the purport, he gives some of the qualifications of a Mahatma. He calls such a person who believes in him, who has faith in him as Mahatma. So he's giving certain qualifications. So he says that the first sign of the Mahatma is that he's already situated in the divine nature. That's the first qualification. He's situated in the divine nature. And then Prabhupada quotes from the 7th chapter that one who surrenders unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, at once becomes free from the control of material nature. That is the qualification. Does anyone know which verse this is? We read it.
Pranam Mataji. Mahatmanastu mam partha devim prakritim ashrita. Is that the sloka?
No. I'm saying that from the 7th chapter, he's quoting, Prabhupada is quoting that Krishna says something that one who surrenders unto him at once becomes freed from the control of material nature. Does anyone remember which verse this is? This is
Devi Esha Gunamayi Mama.
Yes, this is Devi Esha Gunamayi Maya Duratya. That where Krishna says that my external potency, this Devi Esha Gunamayi, is made up of 3 gunas and is very, very difficult to overcome. But one who surrenders unto me can overcome this very easily because I control it for that person. So Prabhupada gives an example that, sometimes you go to a rich man's house and he has a big dog. And as soon as you ring the bell, the dog comes running. Now, you can't enter because that dog looks really ferocious. You don't know what to do. You can't overcome that dog. But when the owner comes out and tells the dog that, shoo, just sit on the side, the dog obeys him and then you can enter. So similarly, when we take shelter of Krishna, then Krishna tells his Maya potency that you leave this person alone, and then she leaves us alone. And then we can actually become free of Maya. Otherwise, it's not possible. And then Prabhupada in the 2nd paragraph says, the Mahatma does not divert his attention to anything outside Krishna because he knows perfectly well that Krishna is the original Supreme Person, the cause of all causes. This is a second characteristic of a Mahatma, that his attention is completely focused on Krishna. He does not get diverted. Then third is where Prabhupada says, pure devotees are not even attracted by Krishna's other features, such as the 4-armed Mahavishnu. Pure devotees are only attracted to his eternal form as Shyamasundar. And Prabhupada says that in one more purport in 18th chapter. So they are not attracted even to his 4-armed form. So that is also a characteristic of Mahatma. Then the 4th characteristic he gives is they meditate only upon Krishna in Krishna consciousness. That their object of meditation is only Krishna. They don't really meditate on anything else. And the last one is that they're always engaged in unswerving service of the Lord in Krishna consciousness, under the guidance of the spiritual master. So that is actually the characteristic of Mahatma. So in this purport, Prabhupada gives 5 characteristics of Mahatmas, that those who accept Krishna, what is their characteristic? How do they act? How do they think? What are they absorbed in? So we get that from this verse. Next, in the 14th shloka, he's going to talk about the activities of a Mahatma. What does a Mahatma do? So if somebody can read that.
Satatam kirtyanto māhitantasya ridavata namasantasya mābhaktya nityayukta upasate. Always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me, these great souls perpetually worship me with devotion.
Yeah, so he's giving the characteristics of a Mahatma. Satatam kirtayanto mam. This is actually the basis of the Krishna consciousness movement. This instruction of Krishna is the basis, where he says, always chanting my glory, endeavoring with great determination, and that person pays obeisances to me because he realizes that I am the supreme and I am to be worshipped. And these great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. So Mahatma always serves and glorifies Krishna regardless of time and place. It is not, his glorification of Krishna is not dependent on the time or place. And he offers his obeisances, always chants at least a fixed number of rounds that he is vowed to chant. And he does so with great determination, whatever may happen, whatever may be the condition, but he vows to chant the fixed number of rounds. And in this verse, Krishna uses mam twice, in the first line and in the second line. Basically, this indicates that all these activities are meant to be offered to Krishna and no one else. The object of one's absorption, the object of one's meditation, the object of one's worship is Krishna, no one else. So Prabhupada in the purport says, a Mahatma is, this is in the first paragraph, he says, a Mahatma is always engaged in chanting the glories of the Supreme Lord Krishna. He has no other business. He is always engaged in the glorification of the Lord. When the question of glorification is there, one has to glorify the Supreme Lord, praising his holy name, his eternal form, his transcendental qualities, and his uncommon pastimes. So this is another characteristic, that he is always engaged in the glorification of the Lord. And then in the second paragraph, Prabhupada says that one who's attached to the impersonal feature of the Lord, one whose desire is to merge in the Brahma Jyoti, is not called Mahatma. And Krishna will make it clear in the next verse that those people are not Mahatmas. And Prabhupada says that a Mahatma is always engaged in different activities of devotional service as mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. What are the different activities of devotional service? What are the different activities?
9 within now.
Yeah.
Shravanam, Kirtanam.
Navvida Bhakti, right?
Yes.
Shravanam, Kirtanam, yes. So, and then Prabhupada says that such a Mahatma has firm determination to achieve at the ultimate end the association of the Supreme Lord in any one of the 5 transcendental rasas. So such a Mahatma has this desire that I want to associate with Krishna. I want to serve Krishna in one of the 5 main rasas, the 5 primary rasas. Which are those? The Shant Rasa, Dasya Rasa, Sakhya Rasa, Vatsalya Rasa, and Madhurya Rasa. These 5 rasas. And then Prabhupada says in the next paragraph that in devotional service, there are certain activities which are called determined, such as fasting, like on Ekadashi, on the Parents' Day of the Lord. And all these rules and regulations are given to us by our great acharyas. So a Mahatma strictly observes these rules and regulations because he has faith both in the acharyas and the instruction given by them. And he follows them with a lot of determination, and he is ultimately able to achieve the result. And then in the next paragraph, Prabhupada says that not only is this devotional service easy, but it can be performed in happy mood. And we heard that in the second verse where Krishna says, Su Sukham Kartum Avyayam, that this devotional service is very blissfully performed. And Prabhupada says, one does not need to undergo any severe penance and austerity. Our austerity is what? What is the austerity of a Hare Krishna devotee or one practicing devotional service? What is our austerity?
Nama Sankirtan.
Nama Sankirtan, yes. What else?
Principle.
Sorry, can you say that again?
4 regulative principles.
4 regulative principles. The 4 regulative principles: fasting on Ekadashi, fasting on the appearance day of the Lord, and trying to chant attentively. That is the austerity a Hare Krishna devotee is meant to perform. Actually, out of all the austerities, the most difficult is to chant, trying to chant with attention, trying to hear the holy name of the Lord every time. That is the most difficult austerity. And Prabhupada says that these austerities are enough. You don't really need to do any more austerity. If you perform these austerities properly, that's enough for you. You know, we don't have to get into the mood of like, okay, I need to perform more austerities. If you can, good, but it's not compulsory. And then Prabhupada says, he can live this life in devotional service guided by an expert spiritual master and in any position, either as a householder or a sannyasi or a brahmachari, in any position and anywhere in the world, he can perform this devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So another thing, that this process of bhakti is not limited to a certain section of people. It is for everybody, and whoever is in whichever ashram, whichever varna, whichever country, they can perform this devotional service and achieve success. It is not limited to a tract of land. It is not limited to a sect of people. It is for everybody. Anybody can take it up. Okay, next.
ज्ञानयज्ञेन चापन्ये यजतो माम् उपासते एकत्वेन पृथक्त्वेन बहुधा विश्वतो मुखम्. Others who engage in sacrifice by the cultivation of knowledge worship the Supreme Lord as one without a second, are diverse in many and in the universal form.
So in the 14th verse, Prabhupada mentions in the purport that those who are impersonalists are not being called Mahatmas by Krishna. He's putting them in this category. Others who engage in the sacrifice by the cultivation of knowledge worship the Supreme Lord as one without a second, and as diverse in many and in the universal form. Can you figure out who's who? Who's the worshipper mentioned in the first one, that by cultivation of knowledge worship the Supreme Lord as one without a second? Who are these? Say that again.
Mayavadi.
Mayavadis, or even impersonalists. Impersonalists. Could be Mayavadis, could be like Gyanis, yes, impersonalists. And as diverse in many. Which category is this?
Attracted to demigods.
Demigod worshippers, yes. And in the universal form, the ones who worship his,
Yogis.
the Virat Purusha worshippers. And Prabhupada says in the purport, the Lord tells Arjun that those who are purely in Krishna consciousness and do not know anything other than Krishna are called Mahatmas. Yet there are other persons who are not exactly in the position of Mahatma, but who worship Krishna also in different ways. Some of them have already been described as the distressed, the financially destitute, and the inquisitive. We read this where? In the seventh chapter, right?
Sorry.
7th chapter, yeah. Out of the 4 kind of people who take shelter of Krishna, these are the 3, right? But there are others who are still lower, and these 3 categories that Krishna is talking about in this verse are lower than those 3 that we read in 7th chapter. But there are others who are still lower, and these are divided into three. He who worships himself as one with the Supreme Lord, that's an impersonalist. He who concocts some form of the Supreme Lord and worships that, that's a demigod worshipper. And he who accepts a universal form, the Vishwarup of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and worship that. Out of the above three, the lowest, those who worship themselves as the Supreme Lord, thinking themselves to be monists, are most predominant. Out of these three, who's the lowest? The impersonalists who want to merge with the Supreme Lord. They are the lowest of the lot. And then Prabhupada says further down, the second class includes the worshippers of the demigods, those who by imagination consider any form of the Supreme Lord. And they worship that demigod thinking that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You know, so they have like, there's a list of demigods to choose from. And then they choose somebody and pose their faith in that demigod and think that he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then Prabhupada says that the third class includes those who cannot conceive anything beyond the manifestation of this material universe. Those who worship the universal form of the Lord cannot conceive his transcendental form, cannot conceive the transcendental form of the Lord. And that is why Krishna shows his universal form. So at least they can place their faith in his universal form. And slowly as they get purified, they can come to worship his transcendental form. And then Prabhupada, and in the second last line, he says that they consider the universe to be the supreme organism or entity and worship that. This universe is also a form of the Lord. So these are the three other people who are not Mahatmas. We read about three more in the 7th chapter, and these three are below those. And Prabhupada says that the monist, or the one who wants to merge in the Supreme Lord, the one who worships the Brahma Jyoti, is the lowest of all. Okay? And maybe I should ask this question. Why does Prabhupada say that he is the lowest of all? Why do you think a monist is the lowest of all out of these three categories?
Hare Krishna, Abhijit Pranam.
Hare Krishna Pranam.
Because they want to be God. They want to be God.
They want to be God, yes. The whole idea is that they're competing with Krishna. They want to take his position. They want to be him. So they are considered to be the lowest. Okay, 16th.
Aham kratur aham yagya swadaham aham aushadam mantro aham evagyam aham agnir aham hutam.
Please read the translation.
But it is I who am the ritual, I the sacrifice, the offering to ancestors, the healing herb, the transcendental chant. I am the butter and the fire and the offering.
Thank you. So now in the next 4 verses, including this one, Krishna is going to talk about how to recognize and worship him in the universal form. That those who actually want to worship him in the universal form, how do they really approach him? How do they really see him? And what's their practice? He has already talked about the impersonalist and in 11th and 12th verse, where he talks that they don't understand my form, they are bewildered, and as a result, they don't really get any success. And now he's going to talk about in the next 4 verses, he's talking about those who worship his universal form. So how do they see him? They see him as the ritual, the sacrifice, everything. Basically, they see Krishna as everything. The offering to the ancestors, the healing herb, the transcendental chant, the butter, the fire, the offering, everything. So Prabhupada says, Prabhupada explains that how, there are different kind of mantras and different kind of offerings are made. And towards the end, he says that those who are engaged in rendering devotional service unto Krishna are to be understood to have performed all the sacrifices recommended in the Vedas. Why does it say so?
Vedishcha
Vedishcha sarve rahameva vedya, yes.
Vedanta Krit
Ved Evacha.
Vachaham.
Yeah, because they have understood the essence of Veda. The essence of Vedas is to worship Krishna. So those who render devotional service, they don't really need to go through the sacrificial section of the Vedas because they have already understood the essence of Veda and they are performing devotional service to Krishna. 17.
Pitahamasya jagato mata dhata pitamaha vedyam pavitram omkara rikasam yajur evacha. I'm the father of this universe, the mother. Sorry, I'm the father of this universe, the mother, the support, and the grandsire. I'm the object of the knowledge, the purifier, and the syllable Om. I'm also the Rig, the Sam, and the Yajur Vedas.
Yeah. So the whole purpose of those who worship his universal form is to see Krishna's presence everywhere in this material manifestation. By different things, they perceive Krishna that, okay, this is Krishna, this is Krishna, this is Krishna, and this is how they see him everywhere. So in this particular verse, he's talking about that how these people see me as the maintainer. You know, that I maintain everything. This is how they are seeing me. So Prabhupada in the purport says that in the material existence, we create different relationships with different living entities who are nothing but Krishna's marginal energy. Under the creation of Prakriti, some of them appear as our father, mother, grandfather, creator, etc. But actually, they are parts and parcels of Krishna. So it is actually Krishna who appears in our lives in different forms, as our mother, as our father. So if this chapter on deliverance of Brahman Patnis in Krishna book, Prabhupada says that Krishna, out of his mercy, actually appears as our house, our, a husband, wife, children, father, because he knows that that's our emotional need and we need this to progress. And Krishna plays different roles in our lives to take us further, to take us a step further in our bhakti. So this is his mercy, this is his kindness. And then Prabhupada says, actually any living entity being part and parcel of Krishna is Krishna. All the Vedas therefore aim only towards Krishna. Whatever we know through the Vedas is but a progressive step towards understanding Krishna. That subject matter which helps us purify our constitutional position is especially Krishna. Then he says that in the Vedic mantras, the word Om, called Pranav, is at the transcendental sound vibration and is also Krishna. And because in all hymns of the four Vedas, Sam, Yajur, Rig, and Atharva, the Pranav or Omkar is very prominent, it is understood to be Krishna. So the idea is that through different things, they are able to see Krishna and his hand in the material manifestation. And then they are able to appreciate his greatness. And they can see him as a great personality and as a result, hold reverence towards him, worship him in that form. 18.
Hey Krishna Maharaj, they are also the worshipper of Virat Rupa.
Yeah, this is what these four verses are talking about the worshippers of the universal form, the Virat Rupa.
Okay.
18. This is also about those similar people, those people who worship the Virat Rupa. Okay, somebody can read that.
गतर्भर्ता प्रभु साक्षी निवासः शरणं सुर प्रभव प्रलय स्थानं निधानं बीजमव्ययम्. I am the goal, the sustainer, the master, the witness, the abode, the refuge, and the most dear friend. I am the creation and the annihilation, the basis of everything, the resting place and the eternal seat.
So Krishna is explaining that how he's behind everything. He is the goal, he's the sustainer, he's everything. And here he uses a word suhrit, that I'm the most dear friend. So there are different kinds of friends, our acharyas describe that. There is mitra, there is bandhu, and there is suhrit. Does anyone know the difference between these three kinds of friend? Who is a mitra? A mitra is an ordinary friend with whom you form some kind of social relationship. And a bandhu is a relative with whom you form some kind of friendship. And suhrit is a friend who's really close to the heart, with whom you share the secrets of your heart. That's suhrit. He's the most dear friend. So Krishna is that kind of friend. He's not an official friend. He's not a social friend, but he's the one who's most dear to us. So Prabhupada says that Gati means destination where we want to go, but the ultimate goal is Krishna, although people do not know it. And then he says that those who do not know Krishna are misled, and they take on the path of progressive. You know, their path is progressive march. They progress from one stage to another, to another, to another. It's a very slow progression because they don't really know that he is the goal and we are supposed to serve him. Jivera Swarupaya Krishnera Nityadas. And then Prabhupada says that all such lokas like Chandra Loka, Surya Loka, Indra Loka, Mahar Loka, being creations of Krishna, are simultaneously Krishna and not Krishna. Why? Because they're created by him and yet he is different from them. Such planets, being manifestations of Krishna's energy, are also Krishna, but actually they serve only as a step forward for realization of Krishna. To approach the different energies of Krishna is to approach Krishna indirectly. One should directly approach Krishna, for that will save time and energy. Then at the end, Prabhupada says, Krishna is the source of our generation or the Supreme Father, and no one can be a better friend than Krishna, nor can anyone be a better well-wisher. So what does it tell us when we come to know that no one can be a better friend and no one can be a better well-wisher?
Krishna Mataji, a true friend is the one who guides you to the best of your for your best. I mean to say, not related to this material achievement and all wellness, but a real friend is the one who elevates you to the spiritual kingdom and who connects you to that Guru Parampara or knowledge, or that here Krishna who is directly giving that knowledge to Arjun, and through Arjun to all of us.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
And from well-wisher, I could know that no one can else give us protection. We all think that our family, friends, everybody can protect us, but nobody can. If Krishna isn't there, then nobody can protect us.
Wonderful. But now that you come to know that he is our best friend and he is our well-wisher, what does it mean for one? What's the responsibility here? If you come to know that Krishna is my best friend and he's my ever well-wisher, what does it mean? How are we supposed to act now?
As far as why I understand, Mataji, that sorry, Kanchanvarna, please go ahead.
My point was, then we accept the Krishna's decisions, like whatever Krishna is doing, we accept it, understanding that, okay, Krishna is my ever well-wisher friend. So whatever decision he is making in my life, whatever is happening, it's for my ultimate good.
Yeah. So when problems come in our lives, we don't revolt. We don't blame. You know, when difficult times come, then we know that this has Krishna's sanction, because nothing can really happen in my life without his sanction. If he has sanctioned it, that means somehow or the other, it is for my benefit. It is going to help me to actually strengthen my relationship with him. It is actually going to help me to traverse the path back to him. So that should be the mood of a devotee. When you understand really that he is my ever well-wisher and he's my true friend, then whatever he sanctions, we accept and not revolt and not question. Krishna, why? Why did you do this? Why did you allow this? We don't question them. We accept and we understand that this means there's something beneficial for us in this. There's a lesson that we need to learn, which is going to be helpful for us to go back home, back to Godhead. So that is the mood of a devotee who really understands that there can be no better friend than Krishna or a better well-wisher. Right? Somebody has any comment on this or a question?
We add Mataji, surrender in every situation.
Sorry, Prabhu. Say that again.
Surrender in every situation.
Yeah. Surrender and accept. Acceptance will bring surrender. If we don't accept, then surrendering is very difficult. First, we have to accept that whichever situation I may be in, it may look really horrible from outside. It may look like I didn't really deserve this. Why is Krishna doing this to me? But if we have faith in Krishna, then we will accept, thinking that he knows what's best for me. He knows what I need to go through now. And we'll surrender to his plan. Shruti Priya?
Mataji, how we'll know that whether that something is happening to us, so that is because of some wrong decision which we have taken in the past, some reaction about that, or it is actually Krishna's desire.
A devotee, in the life of a non-devotee, it is the karma. It's karma which is acting. But in the life of a devotee, it's Krishna who acts. He takes charge of his devotee, and then when something happens which is not very good in your life, then it's actually Krishna's personal intervention. Our acharyas say that in a devotee's life, it's not ordinary karma, it's called Krishna karma. Because Krishna takes charge. He knows what Shruti Priya needs to go through to come back to me, and he will put you through that. So a devotee's meditation is when things start to go wrong, a devotee's meditation is, Krishna, please tell me, what do I need to learn? I know there is a learning for me. I know this is for my benefit. I know you have arranged the situation so I may take a step towards you. But I'm a fool. I'm not really understanding what I need to. So please reveal it to me. That's the mood of a devotee. Okay, Mukunda Priya?
Hare Krishna, Mataji, Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji, but in my case, as senior devotee says that we are not even devotee. I'm not even devotee right now. So how should I take it? Theoretically, I understand, but when there's such situation, sometimes I fight with Krishna also. So how should we take it?
It is said that when you start chanting, Krishna starts considering you as a devotee. Yes, we have not reached, we may still be at a neophyte level, which is the starting point for a devotee. We have probably not reached the level we need to reach yet. But in Krishna's eyes, you have already taken a step towards him. And once you take a step towards him, he then decides to take care of you. And according to the degree of our surrender, that much involvement he will have in our lives. But he is involved in a devotee's life to some degree or the other. But depending on the surrender of a devotee, he could be involved 10%, 20%, or 100%. That is dependent on the surrender of the devotee. But Krishna is involved in the life of a person who has decided to take a step towards him.
Yes, Mataji. Mataji, then it's a surrender that we should observe, or what we should do. That in last situation we were.
Surrender comes actually. It's a progressive. It's a progressive thing. It's not like that. One day you decide to surrender, and that's when you become 100% surrendered. It doesn't happen like that. It is progressive. So to surrender, we have to first take shelter of those people who have surrendered. When we come under their association, then we really start to understand what surrender really means. And then we actually get the spiritual strength to start accepting Krishna's plan. that, okay, this is not palatable to me at all. This is not good. I'm not liking it. But if Krishna has sanctioned it, it is for my benefit. Then slowly one comes to that platform. And acceptance, once the acceptance is there, then you can surrender more. It's a cycle, acceptance and surrender, acceptance and surrender. So the more you accept, the more you can surrender to his plan. Is that okay?
Thank you.
Is that
Yes,
okay?
Mataji. Yes. Mataji.
All right.
Thank you.
So let's move forward. 19.
Tapami aham varsham nigrahami utsarjami cha amratam chaiva mrityuscha sad asachaham arjuna. O Arjuna, I give heat and I withhold and send forth the rain. I am immortality and I am also death personified. Both spirit and matter are in me.
So this is the last verse for this section where he's describing the practice of Virat Rup worshipper. So Krishna says that they see me as this, that I am the source of heat, and by my sanction the rain comes. I am the one who stops the rain, and also I'm death personified. This is how a Virat Rupa worshipper sees Krishna. And Prabhupada in the purport explains that during the summer season, it is Krishna who checks rain from falling from the sky. And then during the rainy season, he gives unceasing torrents of rain. The energy which sustains us by prolonging the duration of our life is Krishna, and Krishna meets us at the end of death. By analyzing all these different energies of Krishna, one can ascertain that for Krishna, there is no distinction between matter and spirit. And in other words, he is both matter and spirit. In the advanced stage of Krishna consciousness, one therefore makes no such distinctions. He only sees Krishna in everything. So that's the vision of a devotee. A devotee anyway sees Krishna's hand behind everything. He knows that nothing can move without his sanction. He sees Krishna acting in each and every situation. That's the vision of an advanced devotee. Okay, so from 20th, he's going to talk about demigod worshippers. That those who worship demigods. He's already talked about impersonalists. Now he talked about those who worship him in the universal form in the 4 verses. And from the 20th verse, he's going to start talking about those who worship him in the form of demigods. Okay, let's read. Somebody can read.
Hare Krishna. Traividyamam somapa puta papa yagner istva swagatim prata prartayanti te punyamasad asadya surendra lokam ashnati divyam divideva bhogan. Those who study the Vedas and drink the Soma juice, seeking the heavenly planets, worship me indirectly, purified of sinful reactions. They take birth on the pious heavenly planets of Indra, where they enjoy godly delights.
Yeah. So these are the people who perform different sacrifices given in Vedas, and with the desire to actually go to heavenly planets so that they can enjoy more there. Because heavenly planets have all the facility for enjoyment. One can actually gratify one's senses to a great degree when one goes to the heavenly planets. So these are the people who study Vedas, find out different rituals, find out different practices whereby one can take birth in a heavenly planet when one leaves one's body. So Prabhupada is, Krishna is talking here that these people, they study Vedas, they drink Soma juice. Soma juice means they go to the moon planet and there they drink a very special kind of intoxicating beverage called Soma juice. And although they are worshipping the demigods, performing different kind of rituals and different kind of sacrifices, they are worshipping me indirectly. Why? Because I am the source of all the demigods, and I am the one who gives all the power to these demigods. Whatever benediction they're able to give actually are coming from me. And purified of sinful reactions, they take birth on the pious heavenly planet of Indra, where they enjoy godly delights. So then Prabhupada says that unfortunately, there are many great scholars of the Vedas who do not know the ultimate purpose of studying them. What is the ultimate purpose of Vedas? To know Krishna. Therefore, Krishna herein declares himself to be the ultimate goal of the Trivedis. Actually, Trivedis take shelter under the lotus feet of Krishna and engage in pure devotional service to satisfy the Lord. Devotional service begins with the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra and side by side trying to understand Krishna in truth. So these are the people who try to go to higher planets like Swargaloka, Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, but still they remain in the material world. They don't transcend the material world. So then Prabhupada in the last sentence says, once situated on these higher planetary systems, one can satisfy his senses hundreds of thousands of times better than on this planet. Yeah. So demigod worshippers, there are two kinds. One are those who approach demigods to worship Krishna. Like they may approach, say, Shiva and say that, okay, I'm worshiping you. You are such a wonderful devotee of Krishna. Please give me his bhakti. So if somebody is approaching demigods in that mood, then they are perfectly situated. Then there is no problem. But if they are approaching demigods thinking that they are the supreme, then there is a problem. Then that is actually not really recommended. So by all these processes, there is some purification, but one does not get perfection. Even by demigod worship, there will be purification, but one will not get the ultimate goal of life. Mandaleshwar Prabhu?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
They worship demigods for some. If you see in Krishna past time also, they were praying Indra also as a demigods before. And whereas if you see in Radharani Gopis also praying to get Krishna as a husband, then they are also praying the demigods to want Krishna in their life. Then how can you justify this?
How do we justify this? Okay, first of all, the Brajvasis were worshipping Indra, and that is why Krishna, stopped that practice and introduced the practice of worshipping Govardhan, because he did not want his family members to worship demigods. So we see that whole pastime of how Indra gets agitated and the whole pastime of him trying to drown the Brajvasis, right, and kill them. And as far as Radharani and other gopis worshipping Katyayani to get Krishna as the husband, so that this is what I said, that one can approach the demigod to actually get Krishna. There is no fault in that. They don't want to worship Katyayani to get some material pleasure. They were worshipping Katyayani to get Krishna as the husband, to serve Krishna. So if one approaches a demigod to get service of Krishna or to get Krishna bhakti, that is all right. That is perfect situation. There's no problem with that. So you can see the devotees, he thinks that in whichever way I can get bhakti. So they see anybody who's more elevated than them. They approach them that, okay, please help me, please give me some bhakti. So even gopis, they think that Katyayani Devi has more power and she can bless them with, she can give them this boon whereby they can get Krishna as their husband. So that's why they approach.
One question, Mataji. We can approach demigods, but Krishna is totally rejecting the worship of demigods. But it is not rejecting. Means for material gains, we should not go to demigods. But for spiritual gain, we can worship demigods. You are saying, Mataji?
Yes, for spiritual gain, we can go to demigods, but still the safer practice is to go to Krishna directly. Akama sarva kamava moksha kama udharadi. That whatever desire one has, go to Krishna directly. But if one has a relationship with a demigod and has some faith in the demigod and wants to approach the demigod, and if that person approaches that demigod to get Krishna bhakti or service to Krishna, that's okay. That's not a problem. Krishna is not saying no to that. Krishna is saying no to those people who go to demigods because they want easy results, faster results, and they have material desires. Those people he's condemning. But still for a devotee, the safer position is to go to Krishna directly. Or if you have to go to anybody else, go to the acharyas.
Then why gopis can also direct pray to Krishna only, Mataji. They are lively present there.
They approach Krishna, but he is not easy to conquer. So,
Okay.
so they are trying whatever they can. They are desperate to have him as the husband. So they are trying whichever way they can. So there's no fault in it. Krishna does not see any fault in it. In fact, it's to their credit that, they are trying different ways. Whatever works, we just want Krishna as our husband. We want to serve him.
But that was not material desire, Mataji. You were saying that was not material desire.
How can it be material desire if one wants to serve Krishna and, be with Krishna? It's not material.
But if you see, they were praying for Indra also. They are also praying for cows.
That is why he stopped that sacrifice. That is why Krishna stopped that sacrifice. That if you have to pray to anybody, you pray to Govardhan. He's, I'm going to enter into him, and you indirectly you're praying to me. So, you pray to me. You come under my shelter. Why are you praying to Indra? Indra's power is coming from me. Right?
Still in Dwapar Yuga also there was ignorance, Mataji. You think like that? And Vedas they were following like that?
They are following the Vedas, but there can be bewilderment. Why not? Dwapar Yuga is not like Satya Yuga where people know the goal of life. In Dwapar Yuga, we see a lot of people who had no idea what the goal of life was, or the whole lot of Kauravas had no idea what was going on. Right?
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah. 21.
Tetam bhuktva swargalokam vishalam Shene punne mrityalokam vishanti evam dharmam anuprapanna gata gatam kama labhante. When they have thus enjoyed vast heavenly sense pleasure, and the result of their pious activities are exalted, they return to this mortal planet again. Thus, those who seek sense enjoyment by adhering to the principles of the three Vedas achieve only repeated birth and death.
So this we have heard many times, that these people, they go to the heavenly planets and they stay there, enjoy till the time their pious credits last. And when the pious credits are over, they come back. And Prabhupada uses a very wonderful example in the purport. He says that this is like being promoted, the routine of being promoted to the higher planets and then coming down is just like as if one is situated on a Ferris wheel, which sometimes goes up and sometimes comes down. So it's like that, just going up, down, or going up, down, like that. They go up, they perform certain bias, they attain certain bias credits, go up, those are finished, come down. Then they attain some more bias credits, go up again, they're finished, come down. So this is what's going on. Next, 22.
Hare Krishna. Ananyas chintayanto mam ye jana pariyupasate tesham nitya abhiyuktanam yoga shemam vahamayam. But those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on me, translation form, to them I carry what they lack, I preserve, and I preserve what they have.
Yeah, so now Krishna is talking about his Ananya Bhakta, that a devotee who worships me with exclusive devotion, like he doesn't think of anybody else. He is exclusively devoted to me. So Krishna is saying, such a person is maintained by me directly. I take care of such a person. He doesn't have to really worry about his maintenance. I am the one who worries about his maintenance. So this is, we see that in this chapter, he is going to talk about sometimes demigod worshippers. He's going to talk about impersonalists. But in certain verses, he talks about his Ananya Bhakta. So in the 14th verse, we saw Mahatma, what are the activities of a Mahatma? Satatam Kirtayanto Mam. That was for his Ananya Bhakta. This is another verse where he's talking about his Ananya Bhakta. So he says basically, so that I personally get involved in maintaining my devotee. If the devotee is engaged in my service with determination, And even if such a devotee neglects his own maintenance, I take care of it. So there's a very, you all must have heard the story of Arjunacharya. How many of you know the story of Arjunacharya? Okay, Anandita Mataji knows. Anybody else? Okay, so there was a great devotee named Arjunacharya, and he was writing a commentary on Bhagavad Gita when he came across this particular verse and he saw Vahamyam, that I personally take care of it. I personally carry what my devotee lacks. He said, oh, well, you know, this is not the right usage of this word. Maybe Krishna means karomi, which means I have it done. Somebody does it. I tell somebody to do it. You know, how can Krishna be personally involved in each and every devotee's life? So he scratched that Vahamyam and changed it to karomi. And then he went to take his morning bath. And when he went, he was a very poor Brahmana, very poor devotee, and hardly they could like manage to eat. So he would go out after taking his morning bath, he would beg certain things, he would come back, then his wife would cook, and this was how they would survive. So that day when he went out, after just some time, two boys came to his house and knocked the door. And they were carrying big bags of, you know, all grains and different things on their back. And they said that, you know, your husband has sent this. And then they showed their bags that, you know, there were signs of them being beaten. There were marks. And they said that your husband has beaten us so badly. So please just keep this, and we are going away. We don't want to stay here anymore, you know, because he can come at any time and he might just beat us again. His wife was really bewildered because Arjunacharya did not have that kind of a nature. She was like, how could he act like this? You know, he's beating these such beautiful children. What's really going on? So after those two left, she decided to cook, and she did not wait for her husband because she said that, well, if he can, you know, behave like this, I don't really need to wait for him. And she started eating. In the meantime, Arjunacharya came back and he saw that his wife was eating. And he was kind of surprised because, you know, she would only eat after feeding him every day. So he asked her, what happened today? You know, how come you're eating before I even ate? So she said that, Prabhu, how could you act like this? How could you be so cruel? How could you beat two children like that? So Arjunacharya didn't understand. He said, what are you saying? She said, these two boys came and they were carrying heavy bags on their back, and they showed me signs of being beaten. There were marks on their backs. So why did you do that? So Arjunacharya said, two boys, can you describe them? So she said, yes, one was dark in color, but very, very beautiful. And the other one was completely white. And he was also very beautiful. These two boys came. So Arjunacharya realized who were these two boys? Krishna and Balaram. So he went running inside and he saw his copy of Bhagavad Gita, opened the copy. And what did he see? That Krishna and Balaram were carrying on their backs those lines that he had used to cut Vahamyam. So they had taken it on their back. And by their action, they proved that we take care of our devotees personally. They carried that load personally. So then he said, okay, actually Vahamyam is absolutely correct. And then he cut Karomi, and then he accepted that when Krishna said Vahamyam, this is how he takes care of his devotees. He's so personal in his dealings with his devotees. He takes care of them. And then Acharyas explained that Maharaj Ambarish, he was a pure devotee, and we hear about him in the 9th canto of Bhagavatam, that how, you know, he was engaging all his senses in the service of the Lord. And the Acharyas explained that he would hardly rule, you know, because he was busy the whole day serving the Lord. So Krishna actually came and took care of his kingdom. Krishna was ruling on his behalf because this devotee was completely devoted to Krishna. This is how Krishna intervenes in the life of his pure devotee. Anandita Mataji?
Thank you, Mataji, for sharing the story. Mataji, there are two similar stories on this shloka. The other stories that I always get confused, that Krishna comes and Krishna comes in the form of that Acharya, and he brings some vegetables and cereals and then he goes and just remove that cut. And her wife, Acharya's wife, fed him, and she started eating. And when the Acharya came back again, please, who is that? What is that story?
It's the same. I've seen this version of Arjunacharya also, especially if you go for Navadip Parikrama. In Champahati, they normally perform this drama and they do it in this way. You know, the one that you're talking about, that's the story they actually act out. But when I was reading, then I came across this story. So I decided to stick to this story. But that's also the story of Arjunacharya. There's some versions which say that, and there are some versions which say it like this. So either way, I mean, the message is the same. Either way, the message is the same. Some details may be different, but message is the same. Harshita?
I thought there were two stories, so that's why I.
No, it's the
was
same
getting-
story. It's about Arjunacharya. But, you know, there are some details which are different in the two stories. Harshita?
Hare Krishna Maji, Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Maji, maybe this is too much thinking, but still I want to get it out of my head. So like you said that Krishna said to the wife that we don't want to stay here because he might beat us up again. So since people like me who do not have still complete faith in Krishna, so sometimes when things are not well, so we do end up questioning Krishna. So does that make Krishna angry and like he said, we don't want to stay here. He might beat us up again. We don't want to be here. We want to go before he comes back. So
No, Krishna exactly knows the state of our heart and our faith. He understands that we don't have much faith now. So he does not punish us for that. He knows that we are trying. We are, you know, trying to know him. We are trying to develop our faith in him. Krishna is completely okay with that. He does not punish us for that. This is a pastime to actually, you know, give out this very important lesson. But Krishna doesn't really act like that. He's not a punishing God. He's a very sweet, loving God.
he's the sweetest, it seems.
He's very sweet and a very loving God.
Amaji, one more thing, like how do grahasthas understand this? Like we have jobs, like, or those not grahasthas, but in a family setting, we have jobs, we have to work. How do we apply this or understand this?
We apply this in the way that we have to understand that my salary is the maintenance that is coming is from Krishna, not from my boss. It is Krishna who's arranged this maintenance for me. So that is the mood of a grihastha devotee. He sees that whatever Lakshmi I'm getting at the end of the month is actually arranged by Krishna. The agency of doing that may be my boss, maybe the company I work for, but actually behind it is Krishna. The day he decides to, you know, change my life, he will take that facility away. And till the time it's coming, it's him who's providing it.
Maji, but like here it says that okay, of course we are not that unalloyed devotee, but still, like to them, I carry what like it seems to me that the devotee doesn't have to do sort of anything, but here we are toiling from 9 to 5 or something. So it doesn't seem that Krishna is. Yeah, because of him, I got the job. Because
that's why he's saying Ananyas Chintayanto Mam, a person who is devoted to me with exclusive devotion. When we get there, we can really experience it firsthand. I personally know people who don't do anything, who have not worked for past 35 years, and Krishna is maintaining them better than we can maintain ourselves after working.
Wow, they don't work outside. They don't.
They don't.
They are grahasthas.
Yeah, they are in renounced order, and or you can say even vanaprastha, and whatever they need, it comes by Krishna's arrangement from somewhere or the other. It comes by Krishna's arrangement.
So for the brahmacharis and those who are not living at home, the temple, like it comes from the temple, right? So, but for the grahasthas, they have to go to office and do this thing. So
there are many grihasthas, you know, who decide to dedicate their lives, who may not work. But it depends on the level of devotion. If we don't have enough faith or enough devotion, then and we leave our jobs, sit at home, and then we see Krishna didn't provide, and then we lose our faith. That, oh, I thought he's going to take care of me, but he didn't. So that's why he says here that one has to have that exclusive devotion, whereby they can understand that if I wanted something, Krishna didn't give it to me, that was for my betterment. When you have that kind of surrender, then I have seen in so many examples, he provides. It's amazing the way he provides.
Like Arjunacharya also every day, all the days he had to go out and beg, but just that day because he cut the lines, then Krishna to prove him he came, but all the other days he had to beg only.
Yes, yes. So he was going, and whatever he was getting was also by Krishna's arrangement. He as a super soul inspires somebody to give something. Right?
Still we have to work, but we should think that's all coming from Krishna.
We have to work. A devotee is not meant to be lazy. Krishna didn't tell Arjun that, Arjun, just think about me and I'm going to fight the war. I'm going to fight the battlefield. I'm going to shoot all the arrows. No, he said, you do it. But ultimately, I will give the result. I will be the one who will take care of you. Okay?
Thank you, Madhu. Thank you.
And Kanchana Varna, you have asked this question if Jayadev Goswami is Arjunacharya. So no, they are two different personalities. Jayadev Goswami actually, he was writing Gita Govinda and he wrote Dehi Pad Pallava Udaram. That, Krishna is begging Radharani that you give me the shelter at your lotus feet. And then when he wrote this, he said, oh no, this is not correct. How can the Supreme Personality of Godhead say that? So he cut it. And that's when Krishna appeared and said, he removed that cut and just to prove that, yes, I worship the lotus feet of my devotee. So that was Jayadev Goswami. Rishabh Prabhu?
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji, we see Krishna personally takes care of our devotees, but there are verses which we read in the initial that Krishna is saying that I am aloof, I am neutral, all beings are being, but I am not in them. So isn't it a contradiction? And
just wait, just wait for a few more verses, and then he will actually adjust this entire contradiction. You will appreciate. Just wait for a few more verses, and then we will take this question. Okay? Anandita?
Madhaji, these are we talked about Arjunacharya, Ambarish Maharaj, and I often remember that Advaitacharya's first time. No, Shivasacharya.
Yeah. He clapped 3 times. Yeah.
Yeah. This is something completely, unimaginable. That how can a person be like that? Devotee is is the epitome of devotion, and they are showing by their devotion.
The reason we hear about these personalities is not that that they want to prove to us that how great they are. The reason they show their character is for us to follow. That for us to have this faith that yes, Krishna will take care of me like this, provided I am completely dependent on him. It's very easy to understand if you think about it. When a child is completely dependent on the parent, does the parent take care of the child or says, no, you get lost? The child doesn't really have to worry. Who's bathing me, who's changing my diaper, who's doing what? The parents would take care of that, everything, because the child is completely dependent. So similarly, when a devotee comes to the platform of surrendering one's false ego and becoming completely dependent on the Lord, then Krishna takes care. Then he knows that this particular devotee is only dependent on me. If I don't take care of him, he has no one else to take care of him. So that is the platform And if we search, we can find examples in this movement. I have seen personally. So when you see these examples, then your faith becomes even stronger.
Then Mataji, a question arises in like Harshita Mataji asked, there are so many devotees, even in our congregation also, whose husbands are not working or the earning is not enough to cater the needs of family, and those wives has had to work and maybe other situations. So they are very sincere. They want to preach. They want to do more and more services just because of their family needs, they have to work. And, a working woman has to sacrifice. Actually, they are standing on their toe. They cannot do the devotional service as they want, except the chanting and all. So in these situations, I just wanted to know personally, I often wonder how should I understand? What should I understand from their lives? Then what should they do? Because they need financial help and they have to work.
So
and they also want to serve Krishna.
They keep working to maintain themselves, and slowly, slowly they'll reach the point where Krishna will intervene and say, okay, now you don't need to work, I'll take care of you. But that takes time. It doesn't happen just because we have decided to become full-time and we have decided to preach. It's the state of the heart. That heart has to reach there, and it takes time. Our activities may be all Krishna central. We may have this desire that I want to please Krishna, but the state of the heart will determine Krishna's reciprocation.
Thank you.
And somebody's asking if I can share these examples. I'm sorry, I can't, because these people whom I'm talking about, they live very, secluded lives. They don't like people knowing about them. They don't like, I know them because I have interacted with them. That's how I came to know, but they don't like to really advertise it. So I'm sorry, I won't be able to share the names, but believe me, you will also see them.
Mataji, not name, just the story, just to so that our faith can also get boosted up.
Devotee I'm talking about, she at the age of 35 decided to become full-time in one way. She's not from India, she's a foreigner. Decided that, I want to spend my life here. All I want to do is chant the holy name and preach the glories of the holy name. And completely dedicated. The amount of suffering they have gone through in their lives is unbelievable. But their faith in Krishna does not waver even for a second. They see the hand of Prabhupada and Krishna in everything that goes in their lives. And I've seen that for past 35 years, now they're 70 years old. I haven't seen them for 35 years, but I've seen them for past almost 17 years. That they don't earn, they have no source of income, but whenever something needs to be done, somebody will come and give them some donation. And the best part is that these people don't think that this person is the one who's actually giving me donation. They see the hand of Krishna. They see that Krishna has arranged this and this person is an instrument. So this is how it works. Okay?
Yeah, thank you so much. So nice.
Jai Advaita Prabhu.
It's a share I wanted to also share in this same light about the topic we are discussing. This is a success story. And if you want, I can share, but I know you want to finish the chapter, so maybe.
I don't mind, but I have a deadline. But if you can, say it in like little time, maybe like in few minutes, then I would like to hear.
Okay, yeah, I think this is a very, sorry, I'm keeping the video off because I don't want to put my face to it, but you can verify all the details all there on internet also. So it's about a devotee, a Prabhupada disciple, and how just with their all surrender to Prabhupada and their dedication to service and serving Krishna and preaching, help them to become from a very ordinary, like successful from a material point of view, ordinarily successful to like super successful. So I'm talking about His Grace Hari Vilas Maharaj. He is based in Seattle. So his story is that he's American, and he actually got married to a devotee, a Prabhupada disciple. So like it was an arranged marriage, and they met. He went to France, and he met his wife in France. And Prabhupada, like he didn't meet her, but Prabhupada wanted him to marry, so they married. And then from there on, what followed was a series of success stories. So he went from having no job and nothing, just from being a brahmachari, to then becoming a grasta, and then he became a book distributor. And from there he started the spiritual sky business. If you know what that is, it was about some incense, some essential oils and stuff. And then he had 6 children, and while maintaining them, he was so successful. So he started a little business called Uncle Harry's Natural Products, and their main product is a toothpaste and tooth powder, which is based on Srila Prabhupada's tooth powder recipe. And it is now, today, it is a multi-million-dollar company, and it is sold over 800 stores in USA. Is now the full-time dedicated to preaching, and he has renounced his business to his daughter. But yeah, it's an amazing story. And yeah, I'm always like, when I spoke to him, he told me, he said, I asked him, I was also in the same boat. Shall I leave my job? Shall I not leave my job? And shall I dedicate myself full time? And then he said to me, if you are questioning that shall you or shall you not, you shouldn't, because you're not ready yet. If you were ready, you would have already left it and you would have started it. You wouldn't have needed anyone's intervention to validate your conviction, So that was so powerful to me, that it was just a self-explanatory, very simple and kind reply from him, that if you are. And I asked him the question also. I said, how do you, I think Mandaleshwar Prabhu was alluding to it 2 days ago. He said, how do we know whether it's Krishna's will or it's my mind's disturbance? And I asked him the exact same question. The answer was this exact same thing. He said, if you feel love, peace, happiness, and more motivation when you think of something, go ahead and do it. This is Krishna's will. And if you feel fear, if you feel distraught, you feel fumbled, don't do it. It's your mind telling you. But that's what he said. He was very convicted. Like he was so fully convicted in this this statement, that I also felt it. And from there on, I've actually implemented that rule. And I said, it was so simple for me to, chafe out what's my mind's incursion and what's Krishna's will. And yeah, it makes so much sense.
Thank you, Prabhu. So I do know Harivilas Prabhu. I know that I met him a few times, and he's quite a wonderful personality. But one thing that I also want to say here, that Krishna has given him this facility, this material opulence, so-called, because he can use that in his service. But Krishna would not give material opulence to each and every devotee, because we may not know how to use it. And if that material opulence, Krishna knows exactly that if we get material opulence, are we going to go down or are we going to go up? So if we are going to go down, he will never give it to us, however hard we may try, So that's also something to remember. So sometimes when we hear these stories, we may think that, okay, maybe I will also get a Krishna, material opulence, but you may not, because that's not something you can handle.
It's all about the intention. What is our intention behind getting that opulence, or are we chasing opulence, or are we chasing service? So whether that service is with the opulence or without the opulence, doesn't really matter.
Intention and also our level. We may have good intention right now, but once the opulence comes, we may get bewildered. So Krishna exactly knows that, he will not do anything that will take us down in our devotional service. So that's also something. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. Okay, let's go to the 23rd verse.
येऽप्य अन्नदेवता भक्ता यजन्ते श्रद्धयान्विताः तेऽपि माम् एव कौन्तेय यजन्त्य अविधिपूर्वकम्. Those who are devotees of other gods and who worship them with faith actually worship me, or actually worship only me, O son of Kunti, but they do so in a wrong way.
Yeah, so now Krishna is saying that, it may seem that demigods are my part and parcels. So if they are worshipping demigods, in a way they are worshipping me. So what's the problem? So, Krishna is clarifying here that these demigod worshippers are actually ultimately worshipping me indirectly, but they are doing it in a wrong way. Avidhipurvakam. They are doing so in the wrong way. And then Prabhupada in the purport says that when a man pours water on the leaves and branches of a tree without pouring water on the root, he does so without sufficient knowledge or without observing regulated principles. Similarly, the process of rendering service to different parts of the body is to supply food to the stomach. The demigods are, so to speak, different officers and directors in the government of the Supreme Lord. So one has to follow the laws made by the government, not by the officers or directors. So then Prabhupada compares this to actually bribing demigod worshippers, to bribing these officials, to get your work done. It's like, you give certain bribe to some low-level official. Okay, I'm giving you this bribe, get me this work, get my work done. So it's demigod worship is just like that. Prabhupada is saying this is actually illegal. It is avidhi purvakam. And it is only for sense gratification, and one does not reach the ultimate goal of human form of life. Next, 24.
Aham e sarva jnanam vokta cha prabhure vacha natu mama vijayanti tvatvam me tvatvam venas cha vantite. I am the only enjoyer and master of all sacrifices. Therefore, those who do not recognize my true transcendental nature fall down.
Yeah, so here Krishna is saying that actually I am the bhokta. I am the one who's enjoying everything. He says that in 529 as well, bhoktaram aham tapsam, right? That I am the actual enjoyer of all the sacrifices. In the 3rd chapter, we read that how all sacrifices are meant to please Vishnu. They are meant for his pleasure. So that's exactly what he's saying here. And he says that therefore, those who do not recognize, who do not understand this, that I am the one who is the ultimate, ultimate bhokta of everything, ultimate enjoyer of everything, will fall down. Because what will happen? Prabhupada says, less intelligent person, however, without knowing this fact, worship demigods for temporary benefit. Instead of coming to Krishna, what do? They go to the demigods. And therefore, they fall down to material existence and do not achieve the desired goal of life. Then Prabhupada says, if, however, anyone who has any material desire to be fulfilled, he better pray for it to the Supreme Lord, although this is not pure devotion. But he will thus achieve the desired result. What will happen if you have a material desire and you go to Krishna? What will happen?
He completed that desire in such a way that it's satisfied and it will not hinder our bhakti also.
Yeah.
That in such a way, like bhakti also grows up and desire. And if it's not favorable to bhakti, then he will not go.
Yeah. So first, if it is not favorable to bhakti, he will not grant that desire. However much you can tell him, plead with him, but he knows that it is going to be detrimental, he will not grant. And how he gives the desire, he first purifies the devotee. He will first purify the heart. So by the time he fulfills that desire, we know exactly what to do with it. So that is why those who are really into sense gratification, who want instant sense gratification, don't like going to Krishna, because he takes his own sweet time. He'll first purify you and then give you that desire. But demigods don't do that. Demigods, they grant the boons immediately. And that's why those who are mad after sense gratification like to approach the demigods. And that is why in Bhagavatam 2nd canto it comes, Akama Sarvakama Va Moksha Kama Udariti, that whether you have desire, no desire, you want liberation, whatever you want, go to Krishna. Because if you do so, it will benefit you spiritually. It will benefit. Okay, Mukunda Priya.
Mataji, then we heard like whatever we are getting from demigods, it's also have approval from Krishna. So how to understand that?
Krishna gives these powers to demigods, and the way it is designed is that if you perform certain sacrifices, the way it is mentioned in the Shastra, then demigods are forced to give you that, result. They can't decide whether you should get that result or not. They are forced to give that result, right? But in Krishna's case, he decides whether he wants to give it or not. So that is the difference. So it's very dangerous to actually approach the demigods. And we can see that in case of so many demons, they get whatever they want from the demigods, and ultimately it doesn't have Krishna's sanction, because the way the system is designed, that the power comes from Krishna, but the demigods are forced, if somebody performs the sacrifices or, austerities given in the Vedas, they are forced to give the benediction. Harshita?
In that way, Mataji, it's an illegal way of going, like if we talk about in the material language.
Avidipurvakam, that's exactly the word he's using, illegal. It's like bribing the officials. Harshita?
Thank you.
Mataji, like nowadays, no one is performing sacrifices. No one even knows anything properly. No one is worshipping the demigods in the proper Vedic way, but still, they go and their wishes are fulfilled. So how are the demigods fulfilling their wishes when they're not?
See, the thing is, if they're approaching a demigod and they are doing whatever best they know, whatever, and they're placing their faith in that, then to some degree they will reciprocate. They will not make them as powerful as Hiranyakashipu, but they will to a certain degree fulfill those desires. Okay? Okay. So here he's saying, Prabhupada says that that anyone with any kind of desire, even though it's not pure devotional service, because pure devotional service is Anyabilashita Shunyam Jnana Karmadya Navrita. So it has to be away from the curtain of Jnana Karma Yoga. So even though this does not fall under the purview of pure devotional service, still one should only approach Krishna with whatever desire one may have. Okay, let's go to the next one, 25.
Yanti deva vitan devan, pitran yanti pitvita, bhutani yanti bhuteja yanti matyajunopimam. Those who worship the demigod will take birth among the demigods. Those who worship the ancestors go to the ancestors. Those who worship ghosts and the spirits will take birth among such beings, and those who worship me will live with me.
Yeah, so Krishna is making it very clear. First thing is that this philosophy that whoever you worship, all the paths lead to the same goal. So this philosophy is completely being trashed by Krishna here. So what he's saying is that worshippers go where their faith is reposed. It is the faith which will determine the consciousness, and that's where you'll end up. So if the faith is in a ghostly creature, then that's where the consciousness would be invested, and that's where one would end up going. So this now the next 9 verses of this chapter, Krishna is only going to talk about this, that why one must choose intelligently, why one must take to Krishna Bhakti, because he wants to make sure that we do not get bewildered. we do not get misled and we know exactly what to do. So here also he's making it very clear that it's not that whoever can do whatever and they'll come back to me. Only my devotee who's worshipping me will come back to me. Rest of the people will go whoever they are worshipping. If they're worshipping a demigod, they'll go to a demigod planet. If they are worshipping ghostly creatures, they'll go there. If they're worshipping ancestors, that's where they'll go. So they'll not all come back to me. All the paths will not lead to the same goal. Okay, let's move forward. 26.
Patram pushpam phalam toyam yo me bhaktya prayachati tad aham bhakti upahitam ashnami prayatatmanaha. If one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or water, I will accept it.
Yeah, so in this verse, he's saying it twice, bhakti. So it is the bhakti of a devotee that gives Krishna appetite. He doesn't really need to accept anything from anybody in this material world. You know, it's said in Brahma Samhita that crores and crores of Lakshmi serve him in the spiritual world. What can we give him? What do we have that we can give him and that he'll be attracted to? But he's attracted to the bhakti and love in our hearts. So that is what gives him the appetite to accept whatever we offer. So demigods, they look at the offering. Krishna looks at what is behind that offering. By which intention have you made that offering? Did you make that offering out of love or just out of duty and just like, okay. So when we offer bhoga to Krishna, is it to purify prasad or is it to really offer him out of love? So that's something we have to see. Sometimes we may just be offering because we came to know that without offering, if we eat, it's sinful. So I don't want to eat and increase my sinful reactions. So that's why I'm offering to Krishna. Is that the motivation? Or is it because I want to establish my loving relationship with him? So I'm offering it to him out of devotion and love. So that's for each devotee to see. And Prabhupada says that, this is in the first paragraph, the process of achieving such a marvelous result is very easy and can be attempted even by the poorest of the poor, without any kind of qualification. The only qualification required in this connection is to be a pure devotee of the Lord. It does not matter what one is, where one is situated. The process is so easy that even a leaf or a little water or fruit can be offered to the Supreme Lord in genuine love, and the Lord will be pleased to accept it. No one, therefore, can be barred from Krishna consciousness because it is so easy and universal. So Krishna only wants our love and devotion. He does not really want anything else. We may arrange for an elaborate feast for him, but if love and devotion is missing, it's not really pleasing to Krishna. And we see that example in Mahabharata, that when he goes to Hastinapur, so Duryodhan actually arranges a very lavish feast for him. And he thinks that by arranging such a lavish feast, Krishna is going to be pleased with him and actually going to side with the Kauravas. That was his intention. But Krishna left that feast and went to Vidura's place. And there, when Vidurani saw that, Krishna has come and Vidur was not at home, but Krishna has come, so I must give him something. So she started peeling the bananas, and out of ecstasy, she started giving him the peels and throwing off the bananas. And Krishna very happily accepted those banana peels, And when Vidura returned, he said, what are you doing? You are feeding him the peels, and throwing the banana away. But Krishna very happily accepted it because there was love and devotion. That is what he accepts. He does not accept our elaborate feast. It is the love and devotion behind that offering that is pleasing to Krishna. So Prabhupada says that Bhakti is mentioned twice in this verse in order to declare more emphatically that Bhakti or devotional service is the only means to approach Krishna. And then further down in the same paragraph towards the end, he says, without the basic principle of Bhakti, nothing can induce the Lord to agree to accept anything from anyone. Bhakti is never casual. The process is eternal. It is direct action in service to the absolute whole. So when we are making an offering, this is something we need to be conscious of, that this is not a ritual. This is a way to establish my loving relationship with Krishna. This is a way to please him. And when he's pleased with the state of my heart, what is in my heart, he will accept it. And then Prabhupada says in the second paragraph, if one wishes to engage in devotional service to the Supreme in order to be purified and to reach the goal of life, the transcendental loving service of God, then one should find out what the Lord desires of him. One who loves Krishna will give him whatever he wants. And he avoids offering anything which is undesirable or unasked. Thus, meat, fish, and eggs should not be offered to Krishna. If he desired such things as offerings, he would have said so. Instead, he clearly requests that a leaf, fruit, flowers, and water be given to him. And then he says that I will accept it. So we have to understand Krishna's desire. And then Prabhupada says in the last paragraph, the impersonal philosophers who wish to maintain that absolute truth is without senses cannot comprehend this verse of Bhagavad Gita. They cannot understand that how can somebody who is not a person, who is, maybe like a light or somebody who doesn't have a form, how can such a person accept? So it seems contradictory, right? How can a light accept an offering? But a devotee knows that Krishna Angani yasya saklendriya vittimanti, that by any sense of his, he can perform the work of the other sense. By his eyes, he can eat. By his hands, he can eat. By his mouth, he can eat. By his legs, he can eat. He can do anything from any of his senses. So a devotee knows that. And that's why he offers everything to Krishna with love and devotion. And Krishna reciprocates by accepting it. Okay, so this is, like I said, that there are some verses in which Krishna talks about Ananya Bhakti. This is another one. So 14, 22, and 26. These are the pure devotional service verses. Harshita?
Honestly, like on the basis of this verse, someone might ask that since Krishna says only leaves, fruits, and flowers, so why do we offer grains and dals, etc.? And also, why are you opposed to onion, garlic? So, on the basis of this verse, so how can we properly answer?
Not openly stating here about onion and garlic, yes. But from our shastras, we get that evidence that why onion and garlic should not be offered, or why mushrooms should not be offered. And these shastras ultimately all originate from Krishna, so they express his desire. Everything comes from Krishna. So he, in Bhagavad Gita, he's not very openly saying that do this, give me this, don't give me this, give me only this dal, don't give me this dal. He's not saying all that. He's just giving us a broad framework. But in other places and through our acharyas, we come to know what exactly is to be offered and what exactly is not to be offered. Okay? 27.
Yat karoshi yadashmasi yajyoshi tadasi yat tapasyati kaunteya tat kurusha madarpanam. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer, give away. And whatever austerities you perform, do that. Spoke son of Kunti as my offering to me.
As an offering to me, right? So now someone can say that I don't have enough devotion, I don't have the kind of love. I'm not totally devoted to Krishna. My heart does not have that kind of love. So what should I do? So now Krishna is taking a step down. He's saying, okay, if you, from your heart level, you are not able to connect with me, then you perform this. This is the platform of Nishkam Karma Yoga. That whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever sacrifice you do, whatever austerity you do it as an offering to me. That Krishna, I'm doing this for your pleasure. Krishna, I'm doing this for your pleasure. I'm offering this to you. This is how a Nishkam Karma Yogi works. So a bhakti, what happens? In Nishkam Karma Yoga, what happens? We first work and then surrender. Right? We work and then surrender. A Nishkam Karma Yogi is attached to work, not attached to the fruits of work. But in bhakti, we first surrender and then work. We first tell him, Krishna, what I'm going to do is all for you. I'm just doing it for your pleasure.
So you are working for Krishna.
Sorry?
Bhakti means we are working for Krishna only.
Yeah. So that's why the first surrender, the process is to first surrender and then do the work. First, we fix our intention. We actually fix the reason we are doing it. We tell Krishna that I'm doing this for your pleasure. I'm going to do this for you. That is bhakti. Fixing the intention to serve Krishna. And we do something and then later on we realize, oh, I should have given this to Krishna. That is Nishkam Karma Yoga. When the intention is fixed first, that this is for Krishna, and then we do the work, then it becomes bhakti. If we first do and then surrender, it is Nishkam Karma Yoga. That is also very good. It's a very good platform, but it is not pure devotion service. Okay, next.
शुभाशुभफलैरेवं मोक्षसे कर्मबन्धने संन्यासयोगयुक्तात्मा विमुक्तो मामुपैष्यसि. In this way, you will be freed from bondage to work and its auspicious and inauspicious results. With your mind fixed on me in this principle of renunciation, you will be liberated and come to me.
Yeah. So in this way, meaning if you act the way I have mentioned in verse 27. In Nishkam Karma Yoga, if you act in that way, then you will not have bondage to work and anything auspicious or inauspicious, which is in relation to that work. With your mind fixed on me in this way, in the principle of renunciation, you'll be liberated and you'll come to me. So Prabhupada says that one who acts in Krishna consciousness under superior direction is called Yukta. And then he quotes from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Anasaktasya Vishayan Yathartam Upayanjataha. That is Yuktam Vairagyam Uchyate. What is Yukta Vairagya? And he quotes Rupa Goswami that if actions are performed and fruits are given to Krishna, then that is called Yukta Vairagya. Actually situated in renunciation, such activities clear the mirror of the mind and the actor gradually makes progress in spiritual realization and he becomes completely surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Nishkam Karma Yoga is a high platform, but it is not pure devotional service. But by performing Nishkam Karma and by surrendering the fruits to Krishna, one will slowly come to the platform of pure devotional service. And then Prabhupada says that therefore, and at the end, he becomes liberated, and this liberation is also specified. But by this liberation, he does not become one with the Brahma Jyoti. Why? Because he is surrendering to Krishna. He's giving the fruits to Krishna, but rather enters into the planet of the Supreme Lord. It is clearly mentioned here, Mam Upeshyasi, he comes to me, back home, back to Godhead. So then he talks about that there are 5 kinds of liberation. And here it is specified that the devotee who always lived his lifetime here under the direction of the Supreme Lord has evolved to the point where he can, after quitting this body, go back home, back to Godhead and engage directly in the association of the Supreme Lord. Okay, and then Prabhupada gives a very interesting definition of sannyasi. Anyone who has no interest but to dedicate his life to the service of the Lord is actually a sannyasi. That's how we determine. There is one way of determining through ashram, and a grihastha may also be a sannyasi if that's the state of his consciousness. A grihastha sannyasi. Prabhupada says that in many places. A grihastha sannyasi is one who's detached and who has a desire and who has dedicated his life in the service of Krishna completely. And then for such a person who has become completely dedicated to Krishna, there's no difference between living in a heavenly planet, being liberated, or being in hell. Why? Why a person who has complete dedication and who's completely surrendered to Krishna, there is no difference between heaven, liberation, or hell. Why so?
He's totally soul conscious. He's in Parma.
He's totally soul conscious, okay.
And he's not thinking in 3 modes of materialist wants.
That's even an impersonalist. But impersonalist wants the liberation badly. He does not want to go to hell. So how do we understand that? Kanchana Varna?
wherever a devotee always engages in the service of the Lord. So it doesn't matter for the devotee where the devotee is. In whichever situation, the devotee is always serving the Lord. Even if a devotee goes back to God, there also devotee has to serve.
Serving the Lord, and also a devotee has a heart connection with the Lord. The Lord is always reciprocating with the devotee. So wherever he may be, he does not feel any lag because Krishna and his reciprocation is there with him in every situation. Okay. Yeah. No duality. Yes. Okay. Let's go to 29.
समूहं सर्वभूतेषु नामे द्वेष्योऽस्ति न प्रियः ये भजन्ति तु मां भक्त्या मयि ते तेषु चाप्यहम्. I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. I am equal to all, but whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend, is in me, and I am also a friend to him.
All right. So Rishabh Mitra Prabhu, this was your question. When I said wait for a few verses and it will come, right? So that Krishna says everywhere that I'm aloof, I'm neutral, I'm not partial. So how do we really understand his interaction with the devotee? So here he says very clearly that I envy no one, I'm not partial to anyone, I'm equal to all, but whoever renders service to me in devotion is a friend, is in me, and I'm also a friend to him. So Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan, who is one of the great commentators on Bhagavad Gita, there are basically two main commentaries on Bhagavad Gita. One is by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and one is by Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan. And Prabhupada dedicates his Bhagavad Gita to Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan because he has used his commentary the most in giving his purports. So Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan says that the first line that Krishna says, Samoham Sarva Bhuteshu Name Dveshyo Stina Priyaha, it's meant for his function as a Paramatma. And the second line, Ye Bhajante Tu Mam Bhakta Maite Teshu Chapeham, is Krishna himself. As Paramatma, he is neutral, but as Krishna, he is not neutral. As Paramatma, he gives the result of one's karma, but as Krishna, he is always inclined towards his devotees. So it's very interesting to note that Krishna very clearly says that a devotee, I'm a friend to my devotee, he's my friend, and I also see him as a friend, he's in me and I'm in him. Why? Because for a devotee, Krishna is not neutral. Paramatma is neutral with non-devotees, but Krishna is not neutral with his devotees. So Prabhupada also gives another way to look at it. He says that this is not discrimination, it is natural. Any man in this material world may be very charitably disposed, yet he has a special interest in his own children. You know, he may be doing a lot of charity here and there, but when it comes to his children, he's a little differently disposed towards his children. And Prabhupada says the Lord claims that every living entity in whatever form is his son, and so he provides everyone with a generous supply of the necessities of life. He is just like a cloud that pours rain all over, regardless of whether it falls on rock or land or water. But for his devotees, he gives specific attention. He is summer in what sense? That he gives everyone an opportunity to take to Krishna consciousness. He gives everyone an opportunity to develop a relationship with him. Just like when rain falls, it falls on a ground, it falls on a rock. But from the rock, there's no vegetation. But when the rain falls on the ground, there is vegetation. So it is also the qualification of the receiver. You know, Krishna has given everyone an equal opportunity to develop a relationship with him, to perform bhakti, but some accept it and some don't accept it. So that's not Krishna's fault. That cannot be seen as Krishna's fault. And when he says in fourth chapter, Ye yathamam prapadante tam sathaiva bhajamiham, so here he's basically is confirming that he reciprocates even more personally with his devotees who love him. He reciprocates with everyone, but he reciprocates even more personally with his devotees who love him. So when one sits under a desire tree, Prabhupada says that under a desire tree, when you sit, the desire tree fulfills the desire you have, right? whatever desire one may have, you sit under a desire tree, it will respond. It does not make a distinction whether this one is a devotee, not devotee, whatever. Whoever asks for whatever, the desire tree will provide. So, but in Krishna's case, that's not the same way. He is willing to become the enemy of his devotee's enemy. Krishna is so personal in his relationships with his devotee that he told Duryodhana that anyone who's envious of Pandavas is actually, I see that person as being envious to me, and I consider such a person as my enemy. So that is how Krishna loves his devotees, and that is how he cares for his devotees. And Prabhupada here gives an example towards the middle of the purport. He says, when a diamond is set in a golden ring, it looks very nice. The gold is glorified, and at the same time, the diamond is glorified. The Lord and the living entity eternally glitter, and when a living entity becomes inclined to the service of the Supreme Lord, he looks like gold. The Lord is a diamond, and so this combination is very nice. Living entities in a pure state are called devotees. The Supreme Lord becomes the devotee of his devotees. If a reciprocal relationship is not present between the devotee and the Lord, then there is no personalist philosophy. The Prabhupada makes it very clear. And then Prabhupada says that the Lord is here stated to be partial to the devotees. This is the manifestation of the Lord's special mercy to the devotees. The Lord's reciprocation should not be considered to be under the law of karma. It belongs to the transcendental situation in which the Lord and the devotees function. Krishna is Swarat, and this is how he decides to reciprocate with his devotees. Okay, let's move forward. 30th verse.
Api chetasu duracharo bhajate mamanya bhakt sadhur eva sa mantavya samyak vasito hi saha. Even if one commits the most abominable action, if he is engaged in devotional service, he is to be considered saintly because he is properly situated in his determination.
And now in a couple of verses, we're going to glorify the potency of Bhakti. That his devotee, if he is determined to perform devotional service, if such a devotee may accidentally commit some mistake or some heinous act, Krishna very quickly purifies such a devotee and still considers him to be a sadhu. He says, sadhu eva samantavya. I consider such a person as saintly. This is what Krishna is saying. So it's a very instructive verse that we may sometimes see devotees, doing something which is not so desirable. And we may decide to criticize them or, to condemn them. But here from this, we can see what's Krishna's mood towards his exclusive devotee. If any of such devotees who may have committed some act accidentally, it should be an accidental act, not something which is a repeated offense. If it has been done accidentally and that person is still completely devoted to Krishna and is engaged in devotional service with a lot of determination. So if Krishna is considered him to be a sadhu, who are we to criticize such a person? So we should be very careful in the society of devotees, how to see what and how Krishna sees what. We have to be very careful of that. And Prabhupada in this report says, 3 lines down in the first paragraph, as for protecting the body or abiding by the rules of society and state, certainly there are different activities even for the devotees in connection with the conditional life. And such activities are called conditional. Besides these, the living entity who is fully conscious of his spiritual nature and is engaged in Krishna consciousness or the devotional service of the Lord has activities which are called transcendental. Such activities are performed in his constitutional position and they are technically called devotional service. Now, in the conditioned state, sometimes devotional service and the conditioned service in relation to the body will parallel one another. But then again, sometimes these activities become opposed to one another as far as possible. A devotee is very cautious, so he does not do anything that could disrupt his wholesome condition. He knows this perfection in his activities depends on his progressive realization of Krishna consciousness. Sometimes, however, it may be seen that a person in Krishna consciousness commits some act which may be taken as most abominable socially or politically, but such a temporary fall down does not disqualify him. And then Prabhupada says the material contamination is so strong that even a yogi fully engaged in the service of the Lord sometimes becomes ensnared. But Krishna consciousness is so strong that such an occasional fall down is at once rectified. So for a devotee, the prayashchit is what? If you have done something which is undesirable or committed a grievous sin or mistake, the prayashchit is to perform Krishna consciousness with even more sincerity. You don't have to do any ritualistic ceremony or to do any kind of other kind of prayashchit. If a devotee falls down, the prayashchit is to take on devotional service with even more determination, even more sincerity. That is the prayashchit. And the Prabhupada says in the last paragraph, on the other hand, one should not misunderstand that a devotee in transcendental devotional service can act in all kinds of abominable ways. This verse only refers to an accident due to the strong power of material connections. It is not endorsing that somebody can repeatedly keep on doing something wrong and Krishna will still consider him as a sadhu. Krishna is very clearly saying that such person is engaged in devotional service with determination, and that fall down is by mistake. It's an accidental fall down. Because if one thought like this and did it again and again, thinking that Krishna would think of him as a sadhu, it's the seventh offense to the holy name. What is the seventh offense to the holy name?
To commit
blaspheme
sinful
the
actions
devotee.
Sorry?
To commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy name.
Yes, that is the seventh offense. So then it will become the seventh offense. So Prabhupada says that devotional service is more or less a declaration of war against illusory energy. As long as one is not strong enough to fight the illusory energy, there may be accidental fall downs. But when one is strong enough, he is no longer subjected to such fall down. So when such fall down happens in our lives, it should make us humble and cautious. We should understand that we are not strong enough. We can fall down to Maya anytime, and it should make us humble. And also it should make us cautious that I should not do this again. I should not venture on this platform where I may fall down again. So it must make one humble and also more cautious. So we'll stop here for today, and we'll continue tomorrow, God willing, from verse number 31. If someone has any last question, we can take that. Otherwise, we'll... Hare Krishna.
Here the sinful acts are, how should we understand that a devotee is not following, has by mistake suppose eaten onion garlic or not following the 4 regs? Should we understand in that sense?
It can be like that also, that somebody accidentally ate onion garlic, or somebody accidentally fell down and did not observe the 4th regulative principle because got attracted to somebody because of Maya. The force of Maya got attracted to somebody and did something which was not desirable, and then repented later on and carried on with his devotional service with a lot more determination. Then we can say, okay, that was an accidental fall down. It's okay, because he has decided to remain under the shelter of Krishna, decided to remain in Krishna consciousness and pursue devotional service with a lot of determination. By the power of Bhakti, we'll see in the next shloka, by the power of Bhakti, all his sins will be very quickly vanquished. They'll all disappear very quickly. Krishna will say, Shipram Bhavati Dharmatma. Very soon such a person will come to the level of perfection, because he has decided to remain under the shelter of Krishna. He doesn't run away when, even if the fall down happens, he doesn't just loop. He decides to remain there. And that's what will purify him very quickly. Okay?
Yeah, Mataji.
Mataji, last question, Mataji. Now it is running Pitra Paksha, and you tell that ancestors should not be followed or worshipped.
I didn't say that. When did I say that?
No, in one shloka is there, Krishna has mentioned that ancestor worship is condemned.
Ancestor and Shraddha is a very different thing.
Okay.
Worship of ancestors is like, they keep photos of their ancestors and they offer lamps every day and they pray to them. That's the worship of ancestors. But offering Shraddha is something that we are giving them an opportunity to taste or honor Krishna Prasadam, whereby they can be purified. And even if they're in a ghostly existence, wherever they may be, they could be delivered from there. It's a different thing. It's not worship. It's a duty. And once one reached the perfection in Krishna consciousness, then one doesn't even need to do that, because by the power of one's devotional service, the ancestors would be delivered.
Some Maharaj also performed this Shraddha Yajna and these things.
Yeah, so tell me which devotee will think that I have reached the perfected stage, I don't need to do it. If somebody is actually properly situated, they never think that they have reached the perfection stage. It is what the Shastras say, but it's for each devotee to see for themselves.
Okay, Mataji, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for very patiently listening, and we'll see you tomorrow, God willing, and continue from where we left off today. Hare Krishna, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.